Hi, peace be upon you, folks. I'm trying something new. I'm trying to do a video with the Zoom application. I'll be looking down sometimes because I've made some notes on my phone. I was thinking about it a couple of days ago, and I decided maybe I'll just do a video about it. And then maybe I'll talk about a few other things as I go along. But I'll try to focus on the specifics of this particular video of the theme. So what I want to focus on is what I want to talk about is basically, why does suffering happen? That would be the main theme. I find that sometimes we get very frustrated. I've gone through that too. Sometimes you go on Twitter or Facebook, and you see one of these posts by these scholars or anybody just posting something, and they sometimes tell you about patience, or the rewards of being patient and all that. And you reach a point sometimes when you think you've run out of your cup of patience, and sometimes people telling you the rewards of patience don't do much. In fact, it angers you as like, no, I know, don't tell me this, all right? You just getting me more angry by telling me to be patient. So it's really frustrating sometimes, and I'll talk a little bit about my personal case, right? So it may not apply to everybody, but then I might talk about a few things that might apply to everybody. So personally, I've had certain beliefs for a while. It's almost like there are some people who tell you that they see something in the spirit and then they think it's going to happen immediately, right? Even if you look at some of the verses in the Bible, some of those people reporting the events probably thought the events were going to happen soon in their lifetime. So there are certain things I believe in and certain things I think would occur. And I have thought it's almost like every day, every week, I think, okay, this might be it this day. So with that kind of a mindset, sometimes it can get really frustrating. And after a year, 2 years, 3 years, 4 years, you start thinking, no, you stop telling me about being patient. Like you don't know what my situation. You're in no position to be telling me to be patient, basically, right? And then you start getting angry at some of these scholars who, for example, you might think there are certain things that we need to focus on as a people. There are things that if you go through the news, current affairs, and you believe you're seeing things in the spirit, you believe you're interpreting things in the spirit, you would think there are urgent things that mankind needs to respond to. And when you do not get that in the mainstream, I'm not talking about mainstream media, but when you do not get that urgency from a lot of people in the mass, from the scholars who reach out to most of these people, then you think like, what are you doing as a scholar? Yes, you're supposed to inform people about the basics of the religion and all that. But in Islam, some people would want to deny this, but the call to Islam and striving, which is jihad, which sometimes involves actual fighting, is part of Islam. Right? You cannot, and then we don't need to get into the specifics here and get into the argument, but it's part of Islam. So you start thinking, why are you not looking at what mankind needs and striving towards that? look at all the refugees all over the world. Look at all the injustices all over the world. And yes, I get it. Some of these scholars might fear for their lives because of, maybe they're in Saudi and Saudi imprison scholars, but you feel like you're missing the point. Like, you can't just be telling people, oh, if you walk to the prayer, for every step you get a blessing, and then for every step a sin is erased. Okay, that sounds good. A lot of people like things that sound good, but what are you talking about? People are going through things. There are people who going through certain things. It's like, if you've not eaten for 2-3 days, you don't want somebody coming to tell you something about, oh, let's say you're finding it hard to make ends meet. You find no other way to do something to get your basic needs, except maybe to break into somebody's house and steal, because maybe the rich people don't care about the poor. They don't help out. You've tried, you can't get a job. Your kids are starving. Look how many women, think about India, for example, where the farmers can't pay their debts. So they end up committing suicide. And think how many women whose husbands went to the war and they are amputated and disabled now. So the women have to take care of those families, and some of these women can't get jobs, and they end up doing things that they would not have dreamt of doing. So are you not in touch with the needs of the oppressed? Like, those people don't want you coming to tell them something like stealing is bad, prostitution is bad. They know that. They don't want to steal or prostitute themselves. All right. There are systems in place that we must address, that we must tear down, that we must strive against, that fight against, right? And it's not just taking up arms. Sometimes we fight in the media, because most of the war happens in the media. So we have to confront some of the means that they are fighting in the media. They're doing all these things to get people intoxicated. They're too occupied in entertainment, occupied in music. They work long hours. So when they get home, they just want to relax and unwind. They want to, forget, right? Because you do not want to face the problems. We can go into the psychology of it. But for me, I feel like a lot of these scholars have sweet words. They have these sweet things to make people feel good about themselves, which is okay. All right. Some people want to do the minimum and be good about it. Oh, you get a reward as if you prayed 100 years if you should do such and such a thing. People are happy to hear that. If you observe patience, the Lord is so pleased with you. You have some of these articulate scholars that make it sound so nice. That's good. But there are people going through certain things. There are people who are oppressed, and they don't want to be hearing patience. They don't want to be here. They want you to be talking about their problems, things that face them. I mean, there was a point when I made a video. Here it is. I called it Practical Islam. I talked about something in that respect, talking about what is facing us, the problems that are facing us. I lose my train of thought sometimes, but okay. So we want to talk about why does suffering happen? I think in one of my older videos on YouTube, I probably mentioned something about it, but it wasn't the main topic. I can't remember which video it was. All right. So, okay. Yeah, so we get frustrated sometimes, and then we get angry at God, right? Sometimes we don't want to say it because it sounds so bad, but we get angry at God. I was talking to a friend recently. There are sometimes a lot of people in the African culture can relate, because we have the extended family system most times. Um, a lot of times people find that it's the people that you help that hate you, right? The close family members who rely upon you. It's those people that stab you in the back. It's those people that take you to witchcraft and black magic. And people tend to think like, oh, people are so ungrateful. I try to look at things, or the Lord guides me sometimes to look at things fairly, right? Balance the coin. So I was thinking about it, and I'm thinking, the more you do good to somebody, right, who cannot help themselves, with time, they start seeing you as the image of their oppression. It's not deliberate, but I think it's just a psychology. And in that respect, what I want to say about that is the Lord I talk about the fitra, right? In Islam, we talk about the fitra. That is the nature that the Lord has created things. So, and sometimes I talk about the spirit and fornicating the spirit. So the spirit would be a purpose in the grand scheme, in the universe. Taking that spirit and using it in a different purpose, it's like fornicating the spirit. So in a way, you're turning things upside down, or you're moving them away from their intended purpose, right? So I believe Satan does this a lot. So even in the human psychology, in Islam, there's this belief that Satan touches everybody at birth. The only two people he didn't touch were Jesus and the mother of Jesus, Mary, right? So he touches everybody. It's not supposed to mean, don't overthink it. But I tend to think it's like the fruit from the forbidden fruit, the fruit of which I think is I used to think is the fruit of black magic, right? But now I think it's mainly the fruit of death. So death lives within us, and we're waiting for resurrection, right? We're waiting for the time that the spirit descend, or when Satan falls and the spirit of Adam that knows all things descend. And I believe that's the time the Messiah arises. So it's like this, my video here, rapture, the devil falls and the spirit of Adam descends, right? So it's like Adam needed to leave paradise so that we can ascend in spirit. It's like things happen in the different heavens, and the different heavens have different commands, different ways they are inspired by the Lord. So different commands are interpreted in the different heavens based on the laws of those heavens. So in your mindset of this heaven, a thing might seem bad or awkward, but in another heaven, it might make sense. And in a spiritual level, it makes sense, right? And then in that case also, it's like in philosophy, you talk about perspective, your cultural lens. So based on your upbringing, based on your experiences, you tend to look at things a certain way. You tend to judge things a certain way. But in fact, what we should be seeking is to see things the way the Lord sees things, to be one with the Lord, basically, right? So that we can return back everything to the true nature, right? The good, the correct fitra. So even though Adam is this, let's say Adam falls, yes, he did something bad, but it's in the grand scheme, that's part of the decree, because we were meant to rise on earth, right? Receive the spirit. So yeah, sometimes I was saying, in our present psychology, if you are incapable, if you lack the ability, and every time you need to go and ask somebody for help, you don't tend to hate everybody else who cannot help you, but you start hating the person who is always helping you, because you study, because nobody wants to bend down and beg somebody, So you start thinking, they have ability, I have inability. And the more they help you, the more you start seeing them as that object of your oppression, that object of your inability, right? And in fact, you would tend to love more somebody who's going through similar struggles, who you can talk with and share problems with and talk with to each other about. And in fact, whom you can maybe hate others together, right? So I think it's the same thing with God. I went through a phase sometimes, and yes, it comes every now and then when I'm really frustrated, when I'm really angry at God. I think you can, so why don't you, right? You can, it's like somebody would say, you can just snap your fingers and all this would be good, but why don't you, right? And I think sometimes, okay, it's not like we're not seeking. Some of us are really seeking righteousness, even in our defiled state. And even though we fail a lot, but we desire that the Lord would transform us, turn us into good, make us better people, make us more righteous, make us more faithful. So if we want this, even though we're not able, and the Lord can do it, why doesn't He do it? And we get frustrated. I think, why is the system continuing to do this, right? So after a while, the Lord guides me to look at things a certain way, and I think, okay, maybe I should change my perspective, start seeing things differently, right? So, yes, I want talking about why does suffering happen, right? One thing we should note is we are exiles, right? We were not sent on vacation. We were sent down. We were asked to leave. We were asked to leave paradise, which you could understand as the grace. They said in paradise, the fruits are near. So anything you seek in paradise, it will not take as long, or it will not be as difficult as the things you seek on earth, right? The fruits are near. They said when the Lord said in the Quran, when He put Adam in paradise, you can just type some things here. Adam, you shall not be hungry therein. In Surah chapter 20, Surah and verse 118, right? Which is Surah Taha 118, says, Inna laka alla taju'a fiha wala ta'ra. Inna laka alla taju'a fiha wala ta'ra. So, okay, so basically saying, here it is guaranteed that you will never go hungry or unclothed. So if we want to look at, I don't need to see all the translations. All right, let's just go to Surah Taha. Basically, I wanted to give the introducing verses, but basically the Lord put Adam in paradise and told him to dwell, him and his wife, in security. And basically he was telling him, you shall not be hungry therein, right? So It goes to say, these are the different translations. I could have set it up so that I only get one because I do not need to see all the translations. I usually just go with the Sahih International. So I mentioned when we said to the angels, prostrate to Adam, and they prostrated except for Iblis, he refused. In another part, he said, except for Iblis, he was of the jinn and departed from the command of the Lord. So it's not to be understood that Iblis is also an angel. When the Lord sends commands, he sends it sometimes to the spirit descends it to the angels. So the command is for nature, the command is for the universe, because Adam was caliph, was ambassador of God on earth. So everything was supposed to submit to Adam. So the Lord doesn't need to come and talk to the jinns one by one, talk to the plants, talk to all the things that Adam was supposed to have dominion over, talk to the birds, talk to the horses, allow Adam to be able to use you, right? Sends commands to the angels. But Iblis refused, said he would not, He says, so we cautioned, let me go to say, so we said, oh Adam, indeed this is your enemy, this is an enemy to you and your wife. Then let him not remove you from paradise so you would suffer. Indeed, it is promised for you not to be hungry therein or unclothed. And indeed, you will not be thirsty therein or be hot from the sun. And Satan whispered to him and said, "O Adam, shall I direct you to the tree of eternity and possession that will not deteriorate?" So, in fact, the term he used here is mulkin. So it's a kingdom, right? So he says, shall I direct you to a kingdom that is eternal, right? Basically, everlasting life. Adam had this ability, right? So he may have been tempting him towards something like, it's, for example, Solomon. It is said that Solomon, God gave him all this dominion. He could control the genes, not with black magic, but he had dominion over them. God gave him that ability. He understood the animals, right? And the genes worked for him. They helped him build his palaces, and they dived for him in the sea. So Solomon succeeded from his father David, but Solomon was righteous. He was also a prophet. Solomon was seeking from the Lord that the Lord would grant him, make one of his children his successor. But the Lord didn't see any of his children fit to succeed him or be prophet. So the Lord showed him a sign, like this you're asking for, it's not wise. So Solomon asked for forgiveness for asking, out of ignorance. And he basically then he invoked the Lord and said, let nobody basically have a kingdom like this after me, right? To have such power, to wield such power, right? There was a time I was praying, and I remember, like, I was thinking of all the things, right? And all the empires that have risen and fallen, even the ones that believed in God, because the people always went back, right? So I was invoking the Lord that he restored the truthful nation, the true nation that submitted to the will of the Lord, right? A nation that has dominion, and that nation should never fall. Yes, at the end time, every nation is going to die. And in Islam, we believe that before the last signs, which are very devastating, God will take the life of all the believers. But for me, it's like that nation shouldn't fail, and disbelief comes back into that nation, right? So it's, in a way, it's like an eternal nation. But I feel like some of the aspects to it is like the Antichrist, for example, would control the genes, the devils of the genes, right? But remember the prayer of Solomon. So I think he would lack some of the things that Solomon has, right? And also his kingdom will not be eternal, but the Messiah's kingdom, I think, will be eternal. It's like the rock, right, in the Bible that crushed the statue. I just want to talk about something else relating to Adam before going forward. It says, Satan whispered to them to make apparent what was concealed of their parts. Okay, there's, let's look at the one from verse 720. 720, so let's just go to verse chapter 7. So the Araf. All right. So basically it says, and O Adam, dwell you and your wife in paradise and eat from wherever you will, but do not approach this tree, lest you be among the wrongdoers. But Satan whispered to them to make apparent to them that which was concealed from them of their private parts. He said, your Lord did not forbid you this tree, except you become angels or become of the immortal. And he swore to them, indeed, I am to you from among the sincere advisors. It sounds like some of the people who are advising us right now concerning some of these diseases, right? So he made them fall through deception. And when they tasted of the tree, their private parts became apparent to them, and they began to fasten together over themselves from the leaves of paradise. And their Lord called to them, did I not forbid you from that tree and tell you that Satan is to you a clear enemy? So, they ask for forgiveness. Our Lord, we have wronged ourselves. And if you do not forgive us and have mercy on us, we'll be among the losers. So basically, some people say, oh, Satan gave them knowledge. Satan opened their eyes. Their eyes were open. In fact, they lost some of the ability because now death lives within us, right? So they tell us that we can use like 5 to 10% of our brains. We lack some of these spiritual connections, right? We lack the abilities we should normally have. So Satan did not open their eyes per se, right? He basically, like I said, there are things that are meant for certain things. For example, a human being should not lust for animals. That's not in the nature. That's a defilement of the spirit. That's fornication of the spirit. A man should not lust after women that he's not married to. He should desire his wife. But when that thing is removed so that you cannot control your desire, so that you lust after women and then you seek it actively, and then I think that's most likely, that's what they're talking about, that lack of control, that lust. And we find that that's one of the strongest desires in the world. It's the lust of men. And you find that most of the time, if you want to trap a man, or if you want to, like you say, for example, like I think they call it the honey pot, where some of these men are tricked right into doing certain things. The best way is to trap him with a woman. It's one of the strongest desires, in terms of intoxicants. When I talk about intoxicants, I don't necessarily mean something you drink or that gets you intoxicated, but an activity that makes you forget, right? Sometimes we engage in music, we watch movies because we want to pass the time. We want to forget our troubles. We want to forget our day-to-day activities, right? And leisure is good. Even Islam tells you that you should provide leisure for your soul. So in terms of intoxicants, intoxicating behaviors, that lustful desire a man has towards a woman is one of the strongest. And nowadays we see that they're even going towards zoophilia, right? People going towards animals. So Satan is continuously trying to take us further and further down in terms of, fornicating the spirit. And so that's that. So let's go back to why does suffering happen, right? We are exiles. The Lord asked us to descend from paradise. We lost the grace. The good thing is in the next paradise, the hereafter, nothing is forbidden. No fruit is forbidden. So basically that's paradise, right? The fruits are near. What you strive for, you get easily. It's almost like the paradise on earth when the Messiah returns. They tell you in Islam that justice will once again be established on the earth to the point that nobody will be poor, right? So it's not like the earth, and the earth will bring out its fruits. So they tell you that a fruit that might, one man might need one or two to be full, one of those fruits will be enough for three men to partake in and, be satisfied. So the earth will be blessed once more. So if you think about it, it would be like a paradise on earth. But then when you think about it, that makes sense because we would have been one with our spirit again, some of us, hopefully by the grace of God. So we will have our abilities again. And the Messiah, who is the heir to Adam, probably also would know the names of all things. So the sciences, the technology would be beyond anything you can imagine, I think. So, and our intelligence, right, would be better. So in fact, it would be like a paradise because if we seek to know something, it would not be as difficult as nowadays when you need to read a lot, you do not have a good memory, right? Your understanding is lacking. So that's like, would once again be in the grace. So for now, you have to think we are exiles. Now, somebody else would want to make an argument, oh, we didn't need to leave paradise. And somebody would want to blame Adam. And then they might realize, oh no, the Lord had decreed it. Adam was going to do it anyway. And it was not just his fault. Any one of us could have done it. Then you say, okay, why did the Lord create a forbidden tree? Those are affairs of the Lord. All right. Sometimes we don't need to have answers for everything, but we can look at things we have answers for and we can speculate and say, okay, maybe that's why. For me, all I know is I'm conscious, I'm aware, right? And the universe has a beginning. We know that. You can doubt that. But if I'm aware, I'm conscious, I believe something that is conscious and aware has to bring me into existence. Not something random and that brought everything into existence. How did it know that it did not exist? How did it know what existence means, right? For me, anyway, that's my philosophical argument that there has to be a God. Now, seeking God is another thing, and seeking his way, his correct, because people use religion differently, but in Islam, religion is your way of life. So you can claim to be Muslims, but if your government is secular and you all subscribe to that, then your Islam is defiled, right? You can argue with that, but anyway, so we are exiles. We're not here on vacation. We are not here to party. We're not here to enjoy. We're here to pay. We're here to pay for our sins. So I say we need to change our perspectives and look at life differently. I was giving another example, right? It's like they say the day of the Lord is like 1,000 years of which we count, right? Let's say At some point in your day, you're washing dishes, right? And you're standing by the window, washing dishes, looking outside the window. And you see a child riding a bike, a small bike. And the child looks like is going to fall, like the bike is going to stumble. For that second, you're going to be shocked, you're going to be in horror, hoping the child doesn't fall. Now, if the child falls, it's a small fall. It might be bruised a little bit, but it's not necessarily going to be life-threatening. And maybe the child wouldn't fall, but that split second, you're looking at it, you're in horror, you're in fear for the child. Then if the child is okay, you're fine. But then you go about your whole day, and that doesn't determine the rest of your day. That is not your day. That is not your all, be all and end all, right? So our souls, our spirits, I think, have been created before, and now they're coming into existence. And once again, we will move on and live forever, eternally, right? So our life on earth, as long, and I'm not even talking about mankind's life on earth, but even this universe, billions of years, it's a short span in forever, right? Now, and then if you bring that even narrower to human lifespan, it's even a shorter time in forever. So for the Lord, it may be that what we are going through and seeing it as be all and end all, because our perspectives are different, our brain functions differently. We do not have memory of our past lives, right? We do not have the same strengths. We do not have the same grace. So we're looking at it as be all and end all. But for the Lord, it's like the child riding the bike. If he falls, okay, he bruised a little bit, he heals from it, he learns from it. It's not a big deal, right? There's still a lot more to take for the day. There's still a lot more going on. So we want to see ourselves as the center of the universe. I'm not saying we're not important, we're very important. And sometimes we tend to not give others or other animals and other creatures this as much importance. We think everything is here to serve us, so they're not as good. But they didn't ask to be what they are, and we didn't ask to be what we are. We have been given a responsibility, right? We've been honored, but it's not just that. We've been given a responsibility as well to respect the creatures, right? But we tend to think we are the center of the universe. Why are we not being helped? But there's a lot more going on. The universe is a big thing, and there are different universes, different heavens, and there are creatures in those heavens. The Lord is taking care of all of them. And everything is connected. Your heaven, your life, animals' lives. So you cannot it's not about you, right? It's not just about one person. It's not just about one tribe. It's not just about even just this earth. It's about everything. So the Lord has to care for everything. It's like if you have brothers and sisters, sometimes you have to make sacrifices, right? You cannot all get what you want in this realm of things, in this exile, right? So, because you have to learn, you have to build character, right? And I'm not saying it's easy, right? Think about somebody who goes through something, and then maybe his wife or his daughter, they suffer from cancer, but he thinks he's a believer, and therefore the Lord, should grant him ease, should cure his daughter. But in fact, maybe the Lord wants to accept your repentance from exile and take your daughter and your wife early, so that they do not have to be on earth anymore, and so that you could join them later in paradise, right? But you do not think like that. You think, oh, the Lord is punishing me. The Lord took my child. Yeah, but we are all going to the Lord at some point, right? We do not belong to ourselves. We belong to the Lord. Whatever the Lord gives us, it's out of his mercy. It's not because it's not ours, right? So in fact, we should be seeking that as much as we love the people the Lord gives us, we should be seeking that we love the Lord more. We should be seeking that we're not attached to the things of this earth to the point that we forget our attachment with the Lord. We should be preparing each of us to move to the Lord, to leave each other for the Lord, right? To give up everything for the Lord. We should be prepared to do that. But it's not that easy. But I think that's a perspective we should seek to have and see it as this is a small thing that is happening, a child riding the bike. Now, maybe the child is riding so fast, right, that when they fall, it's a bigger pain. Or they're not riding too fast. So when they fall, it's a smaller pain. Or maybe the child stumbles, rolls over onto the road, the car hits the child dies. Or, worse. Or maybe it doesn't die, but goes through worse pain, right? So there are certain aspects of our lives that that might be more severe, right? But for the Lord, it's still a small thing. There are still a lot of activities that he's doing. It's not just about the one person. So maybe by the way you live your life, you are more at risk in the hereafter. And maybe you would need to go through hell first. They say, I think in Arabic, there's a difference between forever and eternal. When they say something is forever, then you need to be really worried. Eternal, basically, you're not getting older, you're not going to die. So every time you're in hell is eternal, but it's not necessarily forever. But sometimes it might be forever for some people, right? Because the Lord forgives all sins, but they say he doesn't forgive association with him, right? So maybe you go to hell, you pay for that. And maybe at some point you might believe in hell, I don't know. So in that case, you're no longer associating with him, right? It's like they say, even in the Quran, that some of the people will not go to heaven until the camel enters the eye of a needle. Now, I don't know how the Lord has decided this. Maybe people will live in hell eternally, even the worst ones, right, who are associated partners. And maybe after those billions of years, when the universe dies, right, and everything returns to that black hole, they tell you that in every galaxy, the center, there's a black hole. And when things enter the black hole, they call that the event horizon. It's like it's stretched out. It's thinned like a spaghetti, right? So no matter how big the thing is, it's reduced. So in fact, in that case, the camel can enter the eye of a needle. That's just my speculation. But you shouldn't want to be in hell even for 1 second. Even the sight of hell is devastating. It's punishment enough for some people, in fact. All right. So basically, how we live our life, how we ride that bike, would determine how much pain we go through before making it to eternity, right? But I think that's one way that we should change our perspectives and look at it like, one, we're exiles. Two, nothing belongs to us. Everything the Lord gives us is out of his mercy and his test. We should seek to be detached from these things and be attached to the Lord, right? It's like, all right, I need to get into that, right? And then we should also try to look at it like this is a small thing that's happening. Like I'm washing dishes, I see a child about to fall. It's not the be all and end all for me, right? There are other things happening in life. So, yeah, that was mainly it. I don't think there are a lot of people who might go through certain things. It's painful, right? Try to ease their pain, but it doesn't mean there's an answer. So why doesn't God do this? It's like, okay, God has created and has given free will. We all agree that's very important, right? For me, I look at it as a manifestation of the Lord's free will, because the Lord wasn't compelled to create, but he did it anyway. It's his choice to do it. Also, he chose good over evil. He chose eternity. He chose truth. He didn't choose, oh, let me just play randomly and then, send everything to smoke. He chose a system of recompense, a system of accountability, a system based on truth and eternity, right? So would we also seek that? Would we use our free will to prove ambassadors to God, right? So now, but with free will, there's also the choice of being evil. And man has spread evil. And evil, when evil spreads, doesn't touch one man. We tend to think we're good. That's by our judgment. How many of us care about the refugees in other places? How many of us care about our neighbors' problems? No, they're not our problems. It's not at our doorstep. We're okay with that. But the moment something comes to our doorstep, we think the whole world should come and help us. So there's something wrong with our mentality. We're a little bit selfish as well, right? So we're here to find ourselves, see the good, see the evil, and say, this ought to be changed. I seek from the Lord. So this is, if we're too intoxicated, too tied, if our minds are too locked to one way of thinking, then we might not see the learning process. We might not learn from it. So the Lord has placed us here so that we can learn, so that we can go through a test. It's not going to be easy, and we're not here we're not in paradise, right? What else can I say to this? I don't think like it's ever going to be easy to tell somebody why God allows suffering, why God this, why God that, especially when they're going through it. They might not want to hear it, in fact, because they're just frustrated, Sometimes maybe it's better to just let the person calm down, write it out, right? And then later, have a discussion about it. And maybe in the future, they would learn to be more accepting of it, right? It's like sometimes I go through an experience where I like somebody so much and I think I ought to like the Lord this much. I want to talk to him all the time, right? I want to be in his presence all the time. It's like some of these scholars that people admire, right? They listen to them, they're happy. They want to, interact with him. They want to be seen with him because they think they're cool, right? It's like even these celebrities, they have their entourage. So you think, for me, it's like, okay, now I have to think, what is better? Maybe I should be that way with my Lord. I want to talk to him all the time, ask him how he's doing, right? Okay, that reminds me of something else. We tend to see the Lord as our problem solver. You can solve my problems. I come, I tell you my problems, you solve them. If you do not solve them, why do you not solve them? You can, so why do you not do it, right? But I think of it this way also. Let's say you're a good man. The Lord has destined paradise for you. There's another man that the Lord is testing. There's no determination yet, hell or paradise. Now, this man might hate you for some reason. Then he starts plotting against you, right? By thinking he has the power to harm you, the Lord is keeping him delusional, deceiving him as he deceives himself. So some things, he might want to harm you. It might not harm you exactly as he planned, but there might be some harm. And you will be frustrated thinking, oh, maybe you don't even know he's the one harming you, but you're thinking, oh, I've lost my job. I've become ill. Why is the Lord not helping me, right? And this man might be seeing this and say, oh, yeah, I took him to black magic. It's working, right? And thinking, oh, I'm going to get what the Lord has given him, that good luck, that good fortune. So the Lord is deceiving him, right? As he wants to deceive himself. You are paying sacrifice for the hereafter, right? It's like, it says somewhere else in the Quran, do the people think they'll be left to say, we believe, and that they will not be tested? So they were tested until even even the messenger said, when is the help of Allah? Unquestionably, the help of Allah is near. So there's another verse. Okay. So in this verse it says, or do you think that you will enter paradise while such trial has not yet come to you as has come to those before you, right? Let me say, the one I want is the one that relates more to this part. Yeah, so let's say, 2:14 says, or do you think that you will enter paradise while such trial has not yet come to you as came to those who passed on before you? They were touched by poverty and hardship and were shaken until even their messenger and those who believed with him said, when is the help of Allah? Unquestionably, the help of Allah is near. So there are sometimes people try to harm you, you're not even aware of it. The Lord is always protecting you and you're not aware of it, of how many things the Lord is protecting you from. But look at it like that. You would be shaken until you say, when is the help of Allah coming? Until you're frustrated. So the Lord is saying, you think you would enter paradise whilst others had been tested, but you think you will not be tested. And he gives you the example of those whom even their messengers and those who believed said, when is the help of Allah? So they were frustrated. You know, in this life, we sacrifice for a lot of things. We send our children to school while we work. We do not spend time with them, so we sacrifice that. We send the children to school sometimes early in the morning, they come in the afternoon. That's a lot of sacrifice. That's a lot of pressure on a child. But we say it's good for them, right? We make a lot of sacrifices. You can come up with them. What about paradise, which is forever, the grace of our Lord, wanting to be with the Lord? Why do we not think we should make a sacrifice for that? In fact, we should be willing to give up everything for it. Hence, the detachment in the sense, it's not like you do not care about, you do not love, but that you love the Lord your God with all your heart, above all else, right? And there has to be a balance. There's the love, there's the fear. So even when you talk about why does suffering happen, there's the good cop part, the bad cop part. The bad cop part is nothing belongs to you. You're an exile, right? Who are you to challenge God? God gave you everything. He can take it if he wants. Even you belong to God and you're an exile. You're here to suffer. The other part of it also, right, the good cop part, is pointing out, okay, look at this perspective this way. It's a short time. The Lord is trying to teach you, maybe try to change your perspective, right? So you give people different aspects of things to balance, to have a sort of balance, right? So yes, we make these sacrifices for the hereafter. There's a point I was on before. So yeah, I was talking about, right? You're a good person, you're destined for paradise. There's this evil person, or the Lord is testing them, has not decided yet. Now, this person, right? You paying your sacrifice while they're thinking, they're just looking towards your harm and looking at their benefit in this life. So in fact, think of it as you're here to serve the Lord. You're here to help him determine, he knows, but the system has to know. You're here to help him determine who's worthy. You're here to help him choose and reject. You're like a fisherman, right? You're here to serve the Lord. Think about it that way. So change your perspective a little bit, right? And instead of looking at God to be the person who solves your problems, think about your mother, for example. She might not be able to solve all your problems, but you come to her when you're heartbroken, you come to her when you're hurt, you talk to her, and she's there for you. So sometimes have that relationship with God. Like, I know I have to go through this because I'm a fisherman, I'm working for you. We're helping select people for paradise and reject people so that they can be purified later, right? Today I was feeling sad because such and such happened. I praise your name. Help me go through it. Instead of just looking at God like your problem solver, start seeking that he's your friend, right? So for me, these are some of the things I think we should think about and strive towards, and then accepting that things are the way they are. We do not have all the knowledge about it, but we trust there is a God and he's good. And this is a small window of things of little consequence, hopefully, right? But in the grand scheme of things, in the way the Lord sees things, this is not the be all and end all. So I hope there was some insight in this video, especially in helping us come to grasp with why suffering happens or why the Lord allows evil, right? Allows us to use our free will. And then out of the evil, the good will come. It's like truth, right? If everything that was established didn't go through an evolution, then how do you learn? How does truth establish itself? It has to eliminate elements of falsehood. So falsehood has to exist and truth has to be like, this is why this cannot work, this is why this cannot work, and then truth establish itself. So the Lord can allow evil so that good can establish itself, so that we can learn and be like, here, we trusted ourselves, we used our own intellect, we ruled by ourselves, we rejected the wisdom of the Lord, and this is why it didn't work. History, time after time after time, destruction of people, nations after nations, all going to hell, right? Because of the evil. Although, yes, there's a lot of mercy on the day of judgment as well. The Lord will intercede for a handful of people, and the Lord's handful is large. But like I say, you do not want to be in hell even for a second. So there are things that will happen at that time. That's with the Lord, right? That's affairs with the Lord. But as far as we are concerned right now, looking at what we're looking at in the knowledge we have, I think we have to try to change our perspective and learn to surrender to the Lord, learn to submit and trust him, right? So I hope this was, somewhat insightful and maybe even reassuring or calming. All right, thanks guys. Take care of yourselves.